Have you ever just stopped to think about how the incredibly complex world inside of you actually gets built? I mean, how do we go from a single microscopic blueprint to a living, breathing person? Well, today we're going on that exact journey. We're starting with the tiniest instruction manual and ending with the amazing systems that make us who we are. Okay, let's get into it. So everything, and I mean everything, starts right here with this. This is a chromosome. And yeah, it looks pretty simple, but somehow this tiny, coiled-up structure holds every single instruction needed to build an entire organism. We're talking everything from your eye color to the rhythm of your heart. So the big question is, how on earth does it do that? To figure that out, here's our roadmap. First, we're going to crack open that blueprint of life. Then, we'll watch the amazing dance of division that actually builds a body, cell by cell. After that, we'll check out the command centers, the delivery highways, and even the power plants that keep the whole thing running. So let's start at the beginning. Right. First things first, you can't build anything without a plan, right? In biology, those plans are packed super tightly into these things called chromosomes. So what is a chromosome, really? Well, you can think of it as a genius piece of packaging. It's just your DNA, which is the actual code, coiled up so tightly, it's almost unbelievable. If your DNA is the entire text of a massive encyclopedia, the chromosome is the beautifully bound volume that keeps it all organized, safe, and compact. And it doesn't matter how you draw it, whether it's a quick sketch or a super detailed diagram, the basic structure is the same. You've got these two identical halves, they're called chromatids, and they're sort of pinched together in the middle by something called a centromere. This classic X shape is what it looks like right before a cell gets ready to divide. So how many of these instruction books are in our cellular library? Well, for most human cells, the magic number is 46. They're arranged in 23 pairs, which means we get 2 copies of almost every chapter in our genetic story. It's the complete, unabridged manual for building a human. Okay, so we've got the blueprint. Now for the really wild part. How do you get from that one single cell with one set of plans to the trillions of cells that make up, well, you? You make copies. And you do it through this incredibly elegant process called cell division. This process, mitosis, is like a perfectly choreographed dance. First, in prophase, the chromosomes bunch up and you can actually see them. Then, in metaphase, they all line up perfectly in the middle of the cell. The key move is anaphase, where those identical halves get pulled apart to opposite sides. And finally, in telophase, the cell itself splits, and voila, you have 2 brand new perfect copies. And this isn't some rare event that only happens once in a while. As this quote makes clear, this kind of division is happening all the time, in almost every part of your body. It's happening right now, as you're healing, as you're growing, as you're just living. It's the engine that keeps us going. All right, we've got trillions of cells. Awesome. But how do you get them all to work together? How does a cell in your toe know what a cell in your brain wants it to do? Well, you need a communication network, a command and control center, and that is the nervous system. So meet the messenger, the neuron. Think of it as the data cable of your body. Signals come in through those branch-like things, the dendrites, zip through the cell body, and then shoot down that long tail, the axon, to the next cell in the chain. This is literally the wiring that lets you think, feel, and move. Now, to make this system feel a little more real, let's connect it to something super common. How does this massive network let us see the world? And, why does it sometimes need a little help, like with glasses? It's pretty amazing, but a lot of the time it just boils down to simple physics. If you're nearsighted, the light coming into your eye is focusing just a little bit in front of your retina. A concave lens spreads that light out just enough to push the focus point back onto the retina where it belongs. And if you're farsighted, it's the exact opposite. The focus is behind the retina, and a convex lens brings it forward. It's just a clever optical trick to make sure the message lands perfectly. Now, imagine a city with trillions of citizens. Every single one of them needs food and oxygen delivered, and every one of them produces waste that needs to be taken away. That is a massive logistics job, and it's handled by the body's great delivery system, the circulatory system. This system basically has 2 kinds of highways, arteries and veins. Arteries are like high-pressure pipelines, carrying blood away from the heart. They need thick, muscular walls to handle the force. That's what you feel when you take your pulse. Veins, on the other hand, carry low-pressure blood back to the heart. So their walls can be thinner, the channel can be wider, and they have these cool little one-way valves to make sure blood doesn't flow backward. And you can really see the difference here, can't you? Look at the artery on the left. That thick, muscular wall is built like a fortress to withstand the powerful pump from the heart. Now compare that to the vein on the right, which is wider and has much thinner walls. It's a perfect example of form following function. So where does all that cellular waste go? Well, the circulatory system is the garbage truck, and the urinary system here, this is the waste processing plant. Your kidneys are constantly filtering all that waste out of your blood. It's a perfect example of how all these systems are interconnected and work as a team. But let's take a big step back. All of this, the nerves firing, the blood pumping, the cells dividing, it all takes energy, a ton of energy. So where does it all ultimately come from? To answer that, we have to zoom out from our own bodies and look at the power source for pretty much all life on Earth: plants. Inside plant cells, you'll find this little green engine, the chloroplast. This is where the real magic happens. This is the solar panel and the factory all rolled into one, capturing the energy from sunlight and turning it into chemical energy that can actually be used. And here's the recipe it uses. It's so simple, but it powers our entire world. A plant takes in carbon dioxide from the air, pulls up water from the ground, and uses sunlight to cook it all into glucose. That's sugar, their food. And the waste product? It's the oxygen that we all breathe. It is, without a doubt, the most important chemical reaction on the planet. So, we've seen the blueprint, we've seen the construction crew, the wiring, the plumbing, and the power supply. Now let's bring it all together and just appreciate the final masterpiece. We've looked at all these incredible, specialized parts, haven't we? We saw the neuron, our body's own high-speed internet cable, firing off messages in an instant. And we saw the kidney, our personal, super-efficient filtration plant working 24/7. Each individual part is a marvel of engineering, but their true power, the real magic, is how they all work together. When you think about it, we go from a single, tightly coiled blueprint to a full-blown symphony of trillions of cells, all synchronized, all playing their part in perfect harmony. It's a journey from the absolute simplest instruction to the most profound complexity imaginable. And that just leaves you with one final thought, doesn't it? What does this incredible scaling up from a simple plan to a complex being truly tell us about the elegant, interconnected nature of life itself?